everybody, welcome back to the Guitars Plus YouTube channel. Today we're going to continue a little bit of our discussion from last week, kind of pointing some of the ins and outs and nuances of a small guitar shop here in downtown Victoria. So one of the things that we always get asked about are product lines. Are you going to keep carrying this one? Are you going to get this? Oh, I'd love to see that. We wanted to kind of chat about the inner workings about how a small guitar shop really looks at those product lines and how feasible it is for someone like us to bring those in.
We, in some ways, have like an advantage over a big store, big time, because we can be pretty quick to change our minds about something, and we can just try things out without sort of getting wrapped up in big minimums. But I think something you and I have been discussing a lot lately is that if you are going to support a product line, you kind of have to go, into it and have a breadth of their products, so that you're not just supporting onesie twosies. You're bringing in something for people to actually try and get a sense of what that brand is about. Yeah. But the trick is we have to balance a lot of things between from a business perspective, and we have to balance things from a player perspective. But we also want to differentiate ourselves from the big box stores. So it's a challenging thing to figure out what product lines to keep, what to bring on, and which ones we're ultimately going to end up dropping.
So a few of the brands that we currently carry and we're kind of brought over from the previous owner, one of the main ones is Eastman Guitars. We kind of fill out a lot of our new acoustic section with Eastman. And again, just in the first few months here, I've noticed like these are a great product, a great seller. People love them. They're built well. And it's a line that is just an obvious product that we're going to continue working with in the future.
The old owner did a really great job fostering a community of people who really liked Eastman guitars and continue to support them.
So I should go grab one.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's a new perspective that Colton and I are still adapting to. I'm kind of coming from a luthier standpoint, having built stuff for customers for 10 odd years. Colton's been more of a player, but now as shop and store owners, have to look at products a little bit differently. So for example, this is an Eastman AC 122. Sits around the $900 mark, retail floor. They are made in China, but as a store owner, when I kind of go through the catalog, look at the price points, look at the margins, I also have to look at the quality of the build, and it's just nuts what these guys can produce at a retail point that is very accessible for people.
I think that's a really good barometer sort of for if a product is good, is when it comes in, how much work do we have to do to it to get it sort of floor ready. Yeah. And I'd say Eastman has been one of those really just successful brands for us because they come in at a great price. They sort of build something for everybody in terms of price level too. Like they started, I think, around 500, but you can go well into the thousands and get, a super high quality instrument. Yeah. But they hardly require any setup or tweak out of the box, even at the $500 level. It's a strange time to be sort of supporting new product lines. And there are very few truly great deals or great values, I'd say, left on the market. Eastman, I think, is definitely one of those brands that they're easy to deal with. They ship a consistent and quality product. Yeah. They sound good. Players like them. And they make sense for a small business like us to stock them because they don't also crush us with massive minimums, really.
No, I mean now being a store owner now, it's like I want to get in a product that people want and sell it to them, and then just not have to worry about it from there. So getting a quality product in that's affordable and easy to work on in the future is incredibly valuable for me as a shop owner.
And you might see us not carry certain products that maybe Guitars Plus historically carried, and there's reasons for that. We're also looking at how easy is it to even buy the products. Sometimes, I don't want to pull back the curtain
I'm not going to throw someone under the bus.
Throw someone under the bus, but there are certain systems in place where certain companies don't make it very easy to get a hold of their guitars, and they go through kind of antiquated channels in order to purchase their guitars.
It's a very safe way of saying it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
There are brands that historically were a really great value, especially in Canada. I don't think that a lot of North American manufacturers are able to actually offer an incredible value for money anymore, because there are brands like Eastman out there that just mop the floor with them at every price point.
One of the cool things about Guitars Plus is that we have new, used, and vintage and new stuff right beside each other on the wall. And you actually kind of see a history lesson literally right next to one another. So a lot of stuff coming on the market right now in the used scene is 70s stuff. Kind of a darker period for guitar manufacturing, you know.
In the States anyway, yeah.
Yeah, especially in the States. But that tells a story about the 1970s when stuff goes off to Japan and you start seeing these really great builders build these really cool instruments at an affordable price point. And you start to see the manufacturing from North America shift across the Pacific Ocean.
So another brand that we've been sort of keeping a close eye on, and I think we're probably going to end up doing a bit more with, is Harmony. Because in my opinion, Harmony is one of the best values for money from a North American builder, by far. I mean, when these come out of the case, they need literally no work.
It's shocking how good it is set up.
Yeah, yeah. And
but even with a bit of cushion to say, it's been shipped, you know, string slapped off, you just tune them up and you're like, great.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about any of this. The frets are great. The fingerboard's not totally dried out. Like, it's very surprising.
So they do a lot of great things for, you know, about a $2,000 market in Canadian price. And I think it's less, obviously, in U.S. dollars.
Yes, they get a discount.
But you're looking at nitro finish, you know, very cool sort of offset body shapes, but they also do some kind of like, what would you call it? Like maybe like a sort of a single cut vibe, and then they do like a double cut, you know, Les Paul Jr. kind of style. I believe these are made in the Heritage Guitars factory in America. It's all good stuff under the hood. They do use their own stock gold foil pickups, which to me is a great option to kind of get sparkling, you know, Fender-esque tones without any kind of hum. And then they just do smart things, like they give you locking tuners. They give you a nice, you know, heel joint that's not just a big bulky square.
No.
And then they do compensated saddles, so you can, you know, intonate it. And to me, it's just like, there we go. Somebody gets it.
You know, the short history of Harmony, like, you know, established in 1892. They've been around forever. Most people would, you know, associate them with kind of the cheap guitars in the 50s and 60s, because Harmony was the largest guitar manufacturer in the world at one point. I think I'm reading a history book about them, and they were making 350,000 units per year by the mid 60s.
Wow.
Which is just nuts. I mean, if you start looking at Fender and Gibson numbers, and then Harmony's adding a couple extra zeros.
Yeah.
They created all those cool kind of catalog lines like Airline, Silvertone, Harmony, that was kind of catered to special department stores across the nation of North America. So they just, you know, they made quantity a quality of its own, and they're still kind of fighting that reputation, because when you build at that scale, you can't have great quality control in some cases.
Well, and it's like, I think a lot of people still remember the Harmonies from back in the day, and then they kind of, maybe these guitars have flown under the radar. They have for me, I would say, at least. Like
me too. We kind of took a chance on them, and then we're like, holy smokes, these are fantastic. Why don't I see more of these around?
Yeah, right? And you know, and it looks like they're also doing, they are doing some import stuff still, but I want to check that stuff out, because I'm sure it's probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Harmony's doing like a great job of being a company that is attractive for a shop like us to bring in. You know, their guitars are ticking all the boxes that we're sort of looking for. And they're also doing amps, which looks pretty cool too, especially smaller combo amps.
Yes.
Which is something that I think is proving to be more and more popular, especially living in a city where you're in an apartment or something. You know, you don't need more than 5 watts if you're doing tube.
And you can attenuate down to 1 or even a half watt and break that thing up. And also, Victoria has a kind of it's Victorian. It's a very kind of vintage fashion sort of savviness to it, right? It's not like a heavy industrial town of hard rockers or anything like that. It's Victoria. It's very folksy, and kind of the more vintage vibes that come along with the Harmony brand just fit with Victoria's aesthetic a bit more.
What's my chord? That's a good chord. There you go. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, awesome little guitars. They do come in like, they have humbuckers, they have P90s, some singles and stuff like that, and the hollow bodies that we're looking to get into, they just look great. And if they're anything like the quality of these things, I think I'm going to be happy with them, and I think people are going to be real surprised about this brand that's kind of shaking off the cobwebs of maybe a lesser than brand from the 60s, and will be very surprised about how well built this instrument is.
If you haven't tried a modern day harmony, come in and check them out at Guitars Plus today. Yeah. So another thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is how different guitar is now and what's available to players now who are starting out from when you and I were starting out. I mean, there's a few years between us, but I feel like you and I both remember, tabs being not very good. And we probably remember books, like tab books.
Yeah.
And
getting the magazines and just combing through the back end of it and being like, I've still got a bunch back home. There wasn't Guitar Pro, Guitar Hero. The internet was still in its infancy. You couldn't just scroll through 4K YouTube videos and figure it out.
Yeah,
that wasn't available.
we had to build character by playing through dog little amps, like combo amps that either came in a starter packed box or like your Line 6 Spiders, the old ones. I think the new ones are good now. But
the new ones are good, but my mom bought me a little Zoom multi-effects processor. The whole chassis was plastic and it was ready to break out of the box, but had a little drum machine tap, and a few distortions that were all awful. But that's what you had at your local guitar store, because you couldn't go on Amazon and check it out. Wasn't around. Reverb wasn't around. So now in the modern ecosystem, there's almost too much choice. Right. There's kind of there's glut of so much stuff at your fingertips at a moment's notice. So it's choice fatigue for the modern guitarist. Sure.
And so now as a shop owner, we have to think about, again, what do the big box stores have? Yeah. So how can we differentiate? And then how can we appeal to players of sort of different interest levels? Like we kind of want to have something for somebody who's beginning and somebody who's really experienced, somebody who's gigging, and we also want to have things that are more for the type of player who's not afraid of a computer or not afraid of menu diving. Yeah. And then we also want to have the more traditional, simple experience of plugging into an amp and turning some knobs. The issue I'm finding a lot is that a lot of these smaller, practice desktop or portable amps are they're so integrated into like an app or some kind of ecosystem that the manufacturer wants you to get into. You have to subscribe to their proprietary thing, and then also sign up for the updates that are involuntary. And then also from 5 years from now, none of us have our original cell phone. Like, is that going to be an antiquated piece of hardware in 5 years? Well, this is the thing. You're talking about that Zoom pedal that you started off with. I think I still have it somewhere. Right, but that's the equivalent of having like a Toshiba laptop from the 90s where it's like that thick. Those have the best screens. Well, but it's just like 5 pixels, man. You can buy, I think that's why we still stick for the most part with like a more traditionalist setup here, is because these are things that are going to stand the test of time a lot longer and a lot better than say, your multi-effects, your modelers, or your desktop amps that require, eventually they're going to stop doing a firmware update or a hardware update for them, right? So in any digital product, and this is going to include amps and pedals and things like that, the business model has a planned obsolescence. Right. Like their profit margins are required on this thing becoming so obsolete and clunky that you have to buy the new product. And that latter product goes into a landfill or goes on the used market and becomes nothing, right? Like that little Zoom pedal.
Whereas a tube amp, we've got tube amps that are from 1951.
Yeah.
I can still fix that.
Yep.
It still works, right? It still just moves air and it sounds great. So there's kind of this hesitancy to go too far into digital because as a smaller shop, we can't keep those inventory levels of products that have a planned obsolescence, in a cash flow state. So
I also find that a lot of those products too, they tend to be sold directly to consumer, so they're actively competing against their dealers, which
the brick and mortar store.
If you're Long McQuaid, that's not a big deal, but if you're us, it's kind of like, geez, we need to sell all of those ones that we would potentially bring in, whereas Long McQuaid can have overstock and it's fine.
I mean, so Colton and I are kind of, we want more people to start playing guitar, like the more the merrier, but accommodating beginner guitar players is really tough because they kind of go into those systems that might only last 5 years because that's how long their interest might last. We're looking at lines that are going to last, 10, 20, maybe even 100 years if the player takes care of them. I mean, one of the lines we just got in, right, is these guys, Divine Noise cables.
Yeah.
The selling point was basically your experience with them.
Yeah, I bought one of their cables when I was 12 at a store on the mainland back in the day. And I've had that cable since then, and I'm 27 now, and it still works just as well as the day I got it.
Yeah.
I've gone through countless other patch cords of various quality, and there's kind of something about investing in quality gear that's going to last.
Yeah.
You can either buy it once or you could buy it many times over the course of your playing, and if you look over time, that just adds up to far exceed the upfront cost of a good piece of gear.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they come with like a lifetime warranty, so unless you light it on fire or throw it in a lake, this thing's going to last. You could beat it, thrash it around. I mean, anybody who's played a few shows knows your gear takes a thrashing when it's going on stage and off stage. Got a cool, fun colors as well, so you know which cable is yours, not just in black.
Yeah.
So there's no planned obsolescence with this. You buy once, you cry once, and it's going to last. If you take care of it, it's going to last you a lifetime.
So I think the overall sentiment that we're feeling is we're going to try and stock stuff that is going to have a longer lifespan for you as a player. It's more of an investment. Mm-hmm. And then I think we're going to stick with a more traditionalist kind of setup, but we'll also be sure to begin integrating, I think, a few of the home recording things, because I think that is something we can't ignore. No. Something that I'm certainly interested in. We're just going to have a modest selection, but for the player who wants to come in and maybe go ampless, which is becoming more and more popular, and especially if you do live in like an apartment, it's a great way to go, and it's something that I want to be knowledgeable about too.
I don't think it's going to go one direction and not the other. People are going to have both. They're going to have their audio interface so they can do home recording and experiment with different patches, but they're also going to have an amp that can move air, they can play, it looks like a lovely piece of furniture in their home.
Yeah.
And so kind of playing both systems. I think going forward in the next 5, 10, 15 years, there's going to be a nice hybrid system that comes out of this.
We're already seeing that for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of builders are starting to integrate, the 2-note stuff or some kind of load box that lets you run the amp directly into your recording interface or live in the front of house. Yeah, it's the best of both worlds. You're going to get guitars that run off of technology developed in the 1930s, and you're going to get the latest cutting edge stuff from your latest subscription from Neural. So it's going to be this really cool hybrid that moves forward. I think we should wrap it up there. I think we've probably yapped enough, but oh, absolutely, yeah. We're constantly yapping about this stuff. So. We're always thinking about new lines coming through, and these are some of the discussions that we have with our customers in the store. We're always happy to chat with folks. So come on down to Guitars Plus, and we're more than happy to talk about brands. There's so much out there now that even us with our ear to the ground constantly, we hear about new stuff all the time. So thanks everyone for watching. We're going to try and make this more of a weekly segment with some interviews, playthroughs, and things like that. So stay tuned to the channel, and we'll see you next time. Take care.